Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and welcome to the Commander's Briefing. I haven't done one of these since forever, and this is basically me trying to monetize the time I wasted on Twitter. So I'm here to waste your time too. So no, I just here to share my views because sometimes I have a lot of interaction or a lot of things I post on Twitter or X, and or I often also copy and paste into Telegram, and it's a waste, or there will be a disconnect, I would say, between the people that follows me on X or Twitter versus the people who follow me on YouTube, because I share a lot more about geopolitics and know about politics, war culture, and all sorts of things on X, which is not possible to do on YouTube, because YouTube tend to be very topical. So that's what the Commander's Briefing is, which is me going through some of the stuff that I have shared, and I can discuss a bit more beyond just what I have written. So I do this during live streams as well, but live stream is a bit hard to watch, I think, for casual viewers, because if you come in, it's like it's a mess. Because I'm interacting with the chat and everything. So Commander Briefing exists. So first thing first, of course, DPA Open Mic has already been recorded. It is a very weird timing, so there's only like a few people. As you can see, it's on the screen. All the participants, including myself, is already there. There's Archimedes, Vaughn, Nika. What is his name? Toby. Oh fuck, the name dropped out of my brain. Yeah, this guy, me, and we talked about Ukraine, Trump, and then drones, United States. It is a very unusual session, so not important. So I will scroll through some of the things that I don't think is very meaningful to talk about, like how there is all these rumors and news of footages of Hamas killing Palestinians in Gaza, and the Bill Hammer and Mark Cuban has point out that where is all the protesters or that supports Hamas, and so that didn't happen. So this is. So there's this letter, so Kobesi letter has posted this news regarding the US market capitalization has reached 67 trillion for the first time in the history. That's basically 220% of the entire US economy. So this means that the US market has doubled since 2022's bear market. So Asian and European is 22 and 19 trillion. So in combination, even you combine both Europe and Asia's market capitalization, is still lower than United States. So that's actually pretty interesting. To put into perspective, because I know a lot of you guys who follow DPA don't like United States or don't support United States. I know there's also Americans, and I do hope that people support their own country. But you have to put into perspective. Imagine this is not United States. Just put China there. You will say, you see, Wyatt, I told you, China is the hottest thing, Yeah, so just to put into perspective, how big is this? But again, I did write that, this is probably what Trump meant by United States is the hottest country by far. He keep repeating this. If you follow his presses, he follow his interviews, his speeches, he will always say this. And this is just a visualization of what he means by the hottest country in the world, United States. Is basically how much investment is actually going into United States. And however, I have to note that stock market isn't everything. Stock market, the money invested into these companies, if these companies do not convert this investment into economic output, into jobs, into new products, new services to bring in more money and more developments for the country, and take in wealth from around the world, buy more American goods, then all this stock market is pointless. So, and also important thing to note is that if you look at the graph, it also shows another thing, the amount of money printing. This is, so that the money has just, the amount of money that's floating in the stock market has increased tremendously. So this is also another important thing to note, is that the money is also devaluing. So that's something to take note of. You can see this chunk up to 96 is normal. That was the old days, as wealth starting to grow, and then you have this massive bubble and boom, bust and boom and bust, boom and bust, which is, but they are more or less at the same level. You see, this is like normal. Then you have this bubble grow all the way to COVID. There's a huge slump, and then continue to grow again, and all this started from 08, and because 08 all the way to at least I think 2016, near to 2016, there's this part where the stock market just keep growing endlessly. That was when the US interest rate was 0. So borrowing money is free. And that's how some of this many of the corporations in Europe and all around the world got bought out by Americans, because Americans just leverage on this scam, this free money scam, and just borrow money, buy out the company, and dump the debt on these companies that they have bought out. So that is basically scamming. So however, that is legal scamming. So that's how, like, for those that watch football, that's how Manchester United got bought out. So and that's what happened. They bought out Manchester United and immediately dumped the debt on it. The same thing is currently happening actually right now. I think EA, Electronic Arts, got bought out by Saudi-led consortium, along with Jared Kushner. I think it's Jared Kushner, and this consortium also allegedly likely to dump the debt on EA as well. So that's something. Oops, I should go back. So yeah, so this is on Ukraine. So Illia Ponomarenko, which is actually a pro-Ukrainian guy. He lives in Ukraine. He has a very big channel. His channel is 1.1 million. So is this guy. And so yeah, he wrote a very, very long piece of basically it's a rant, because he feel like a lot of his followers don't understand the nuances of Ukraine politics, and the feeling, not politics, but more like the feelings of Ukrainians regarding the Russian invasion. So I will give a quick read. So all right, I guess it falls to me, ordinary guy from Ukraine, Donbass, to explain a few obvious things to the New York real estate developer, which is Donald Trump. Who cares a lot more about commercial opportunities that's dangled in front of him by Putin and blah 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 blah. So you say the real world is more complicated than the primitive two-color map, where the Ukraine is cut into Ukraine speaking and Russian speaking. So believe it or not, speaking Russian in everyday life doesn't mean that they want to live under Russia or Putin. Then so it doesn't also by default belongs to Russia or the imperial whims of Putin, which I totally agree. Just like I speak Chinese doesn't mean I have to listen to China or the Communist Party of China. Perfectly fair. So after the 2014 invasion, which is the annexation of Crimea, so they say that this business partner in Kremlin unleashed what is now almost completely destroyed Donbass. So talk about horrors, plague, cemetery, okay, blah blah, okay. And then you might be surprised, in 2014, the main centers for forming volunteer battalions were not Lviv or Ternopil. They were Russian-speaking cities like Dnipro and Kharkiv. So they created numerous famed units made up of local residents and took up arms to repel Russian invasion of Donbass. When the regular army and state is in collapse and paralysis, that's because Russian-speaking Ukrainians already understood pretty well what's happening and made their final irreversible choice in favor of Ukraine, which is actually not a surprise as well. There are people who are going to be pro-Russia, but there are also going to be people who are going to be pro-Ukraine, even if they speak Russian. So that's one thing. And there are also people who that they may disagree with the Euromaidan, the overthrow of their legitimate president, but they also doesn't mean that they will support the invasion or annexation of Ukraine or agree with Ukraine descending into the civil war. So that is also not a surprising thing. This is just a natural thing. So then they talk about how there's saboteurs, collaborators, and turn it and whatever the Donbass turn into depressed criminal cesspool. So blah 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 blah. So they left their homes and apartments, believe it or not, under Ukrainian control to Kiev, to peaceful suburbs like Irpin and Bucha, where he lived, which is because he's from Donetsk. He's from Volnovakha. So they to start the life from scratch. So the self-proclaimed expert and journalist, even Donbass Russian-speaking people, never identified themselves as ethnic Russians, but only Ukrainians that happen to speak Russians. This I'm not so sure, but I'm quite sure there are some people who think that way, because Ukrainian is, you can say it's an ethnicity as well, but it's not that clear-cut, as an ethnicity vis-a-vis Russian. They seem very similar to me, but of course, what do I know? So if you think you know better than me, who is someone who born in Volnovakha, grew up and lived there most of his life, you're mistaken. And he looked young, so I would imagine this is why he is a lot more nationalistic. That's the main thing. Because if you're younger and you never really lived through the USSR and the life under the Soviet Union, where it's probably a lot peaceful, even though you may not have a lot of political representation. Yeah, some people who lived through the Soviet Union have a romantic view of the Soviet era, so they probably do not reject Russia that much, But for younger folks, easily, like for me, it's the same, if you ask my grandfather or great grandfather, whatever, their generation of Chinese in Singapore would have no qualms, seeing China as their homeland. But by my generation or any generation of Singaporean Chinese who is born in Singapore would never ever think of China as a homeland. Like there is a clear cut of difference between Chinese in Singapore and Chinese in China. So that is not a surprising thing as well. For a Russian speaker, perhaps even Russian, living in sovereign Ukraine, thinking that he is Ukrainian and have nothing to do with Russia, that is actually a normal thing. So he said that a lot of these Russian speakers actually settled in Kiev, Lviv, and Chernihiv, and you can actually notice by just walking through those cities. So he won't start on how many Russian-speaking Ukrainians are fighting in the Ukrainian army in the front line against the Russians in the land. And so because they are all part of the Ukrainian nation, politically and culturally, they say the capital is in ancient Kiev, or Kiev in Ukrainian. They argue and you criticize Ukrainian politicians about divisions. They took part in revolutions, elections, and wars. They cheer for the Ukrainian football team and Ukrainian singers at Eurovision. So most of them, one or another, see Ukraine as a country and future. And today, more than ever in modern history, they are further from the Russian cultural space and closer to the Ukrainians from Lviv, Lutsk, Ternopil, and Vinnytsia than ever before. This is called shared national values. I'm not sure if it's shared national values per se in the natural sense. I think it's more like they're being forced to live in this new reality where the Russians are the invaders, and they decided to disavow the Russian part of them. I think that's more likely the truth. So they are fighting for survival and freedom, probably for the sake of Europe and Euro-Atlantic. And they have tried for a decade to reform and make it a better place to live. Not sure if that's exactly what happened, but I'm not Ukrainian, so I do not know. So that's who we are, that's what we believe in, and what matches our values and vision for the future. And many of us from the Russian-speaking regions have already switched to Ukrainians in daily life and in public. and returning to the embrace of Ukrainian culture and tradition. And rejecting Russian with disgust and anger because we do not want to have anything in common with the fascist Russians of today. Only bloodlust, war, hatred, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so then a lot of, whatever, you can read yourself. And until the last breath, we want nothing to do with your Russia. So after all he has done, killing our friends and relatives, taking our homes, turning Russian-speaking cities into vast cemeteries and ruins where life would never return. And I would say this is where this is how because of war, because of invasion, that they start to reject their own identity. Because I'm quite sure that he is pretty Russian prior to the war, prior to Euromaidan, and now he just decided that Russian, he don't want to have anything to do with Russia because he do not agree with the invasion. So and that's perfectly fair. Although to only speak Ukrainian, I'm not sure if that is a forced thing or is a try thing or is a natural thing, because there are no criticism of Ukrainians that speak Russian within Ukraine itself, and then there's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of this sort of uncomfortable things. So speech policing. So I won't be surprised. Many of these Ukrainians, maybe it's not so political like him, may just speak Ukrainian because of out of fear of persecution. So, but ultimately, it is a very, very good read by Illia. He don't follow me because he's a super pro Ukraine, but this I say this is a great read. And this is something that I always tell people in my reporting, that it's very easy to view Ukraine war as a football game, but reality is always more nuanced. And I this is how you differentiate between the neutral and the pro-Russian. The neutrals will never think the way how the pro-Russian think, in terms that Russian annexations, Ukrainians joining into Russia, returning to the and the warm embrace of Russian Federation, or so-called fatherland or motherland, is a great thing. It is, relatively speaking, they're gonna have individually a better life. I believe that is the case. So that's why I wrote, from a neutral perspective, if you put in relative terms, if you put into certain context, based on circumstances, unique circumstances of the every individual, many Ukrainians that have got annexed into the Russian Federation, they become Russian citizens, they literally have better lives. They have more grants and more help and more financial aids. That is, I think, true, because Ukraine is at war. Russia is a much bigger country. But it doesn't take away the fact that this invasion by Russia actually takes away Ukrainian sovereignty, and all these Ukrainians that have converted into Russian citizenship lost their Ukrainian citizenship, which means Ukraine as a country is losing population, and it's a brain drain, it's a human resource drain, and so it doesn't. So when you put it in that perspective, it's not necessarily a good thing for Ukraine. So it may be good for individual, but when we put in the macro point of view, it's not necessarily a good thing. So depending on your values. So that's why I say the pro-Russians will always think that it's a good thing to to join Russia, but Russia is not a perfect entity as well. There's a lot of corruption. We all know that it is the case, but it's a big country problem. Just like United States is full of corruption as well. So the Polish Prime Minister, I believe, said that none of us should, I'm not sure if you can actually read it, none of us should put pressure on Zelensky when it comes to territorial concession. We should all put pressure on Russia to stop its aggression. Appeasement never was a road to just and lasting peace. So Prime Minister of Poland, so Donald Tusk, and I actually agree. I actually agree with what he says. The problem with I feel like it's not right. Ethically speaking, to ask someone to give up things. Usually, although of course we can give that as an advice, like you should break up with this toxic girlfriend or toxic boyfriend. You should give up your beautiful car because you're running into debt. Or you should give up some of your hobbies because you don't really earn that much money. You need to have a cheaper hobby. So that is that happens. But we are talking about losing something very precious, which is land. And so I don't think it's exactly right per se. Of course, when you come to macro, geopolitics, diplomacy, I'm quite sure Trump is going to tell them that you have to accept this or you're going to have more people dying, which is also the truth. So in this, I would add that despite Donald Tusk saying this, and then they say that they should put pressure on Russia and to stop its aggression and shouldn't appease Russia. The same thing goes at the same time where even though you don't put pressure on Zelensky to surrender, but you feeding them financial aid, loans, weaponry is encouraging the war to continue. And the problem with this is not just people dying, but the problem is that you're going to want all this money back. That is the problem. Unless you don't want this money back, then perfectly is fine. It's perfectly fine. But the problem is these countries are going to want their money back. All these loan and aids. The more you give to Ukraine, the more invested you are in the conflict. And then before you know it, you'll be trapped in the cycle of trying to perpetuate the war longer because you need to get your money back. And because if Ukraine lose, then you lose everything. So this is a trap. And unfortunately, Europe have found themselves inside this trap. They have trapped themselves because they have miscalculated their chance of winning or the chance of Russia losing. And now they are very invested. Donald Trump knows clearly that is the problem. He immediately washed his hands off the Ukraine issue. He forced Europe to take over all of the responsibility over Ukraine. So all the financial aid, military aids, Europe have to buy for Ukraine. The United States will not sell it to Ukraine directly, and they will not give it for free to Ukraine. And they're not even going to loan money to Ukraine. And that's what Donald Trump has done. He's basically washing his hands off. Totally no US, investment in that kind of in a unretractable way in Ukraine. So every investment or every deal is only going to be beneficial for United States. If not, he's not going to get involved. So Europe is now so invested to the point where they literally is willing to undermine Donald Trump on multiple occasions. I have reported multiple times of this happening on this channel already. You probably have seen it. So that they back Ukraine, back Zelensky to get the war continuing instead of the war ending as it is. And that is the problem right now for this war, because it's just not the way forward. Unfortunately, that is the investment Europe has put in, and they are stuck. And interestingly is that after I post this post, immediately I saw Mearsheimer saying exactly the same thing. So John Mearsheimer has appeared again on Daniel Davis' show. So shout out to Daniel Davis. Haven't seen him for a long time, but he's a very difficult person to reach anyway. I'm not sure it's my email problem or what. But anyway, so he said exactly the same thing. The more they invest, the more Ukraine must win. So this basically just a quick essence of what John Mearsheimer have said. Is basically the same thing as what I've just said here also, the John Mearsheimer. So it's super interesting. So this is probably the reason why I actually like John Mearsheimer quite a lot, because I identify a lot with his geopolitical views. And I'm not sure just now there's a skip. I just now saw that there might be a skip of frames, so not sure if it affects you. And yeah, so this was the full post. I recommend you to watch it on Daniel Davis' channel. So no, not to take away his views. No, you can check out his interviews. He's a very, very hardworking guy. I cannot keep up with him. He's insanely hardworking and he posts so much and do so much streams. I cannot even keep up. Like he wanted to bring me on his show merely 2 weeks after the initial time I was interviewed by him. I was on his show, and I have to reject it because it was so soon, and I have no time to go on his show. That because there's a lot of things on my hands, and yeah. So so since it's already like 25 minutes into this, you can see I spent way too much time on Twitter. So let's end this. There's actually more stuff, but I think let's end it with this Greta Thunberg one. So this is a retweet. So the Swedish Foreign Ministry has confirmed that Greta has not been abused by Israel. So the Swedish diplomats have repeatedly visited her in the Israeli jail or custody. I'm not even sure if it's a jail. And Israeli court transcript also have shown that he has not made such claim before a judge. The only thing that she did, which I'm not sure if you're aware, I am aware, is that she refused to sign the deportation order so that she can get stuck in Israel longer, because Israel was intended to immediately deport her. So immediately she was arrested and then she was going to kick out immediately, but she refused to sign the order, which then prolonged her detention, which is not that long also, just a few days. And after that, however, the moment she returned to Sweden, then she started to make allegations of mistreatment to the media. But of course, that is a very normal thing for pro-Palestine way of propaganda. And of course, what should we expect from her? So I think that's it. I don't want to go too far. Actually, I have a lot more. I'm not sure if you want to watch. Okay, I think for those that don't want to watch, you can don't watch. I'll just cover one more. So this is so this guy is from CSIS. He's Mick Ryan. He's a former major general from the U.S. Army, I believe. So Lowy Institute. This is actually pretty prestigious. He quoted this article which says that Trump urged Zelensky to surrender, basically. And he wrote that it is awful that someone formerly known as the leader of the free world will have such a view, asking Zelensky to surrender. And if Putin is entitled to win in Donbass, why isn't he is entitled to do the same with Alaska? Which is kind of a stupid parable. It's so dumb. Like, how can he be a former general and say this kind of stupid thing? So because if Russia tried to claim Alaska, it's going to be nuclear war. This is the reason why it's not going to happen. And again, I want to emphasize this. I'm not sure why people get so confused. Ukraine war was never a US war. It might be a US proxy war, but it's not USA's war. If you want to become a proxy, it's your own fault, because you chose it to be a proxy. No. People may ask you to eat shit, but you don't have to eat shit. So the thing is, if you just like every single circumstances of espionage as well. Maybe there's a honey trap that asks you to give away some classified information from your office, from your unit or your military or whatnot, from your country. You don't have to do it. Someone asks you to do it doesn't mean you have to do it. So you must know what is right and wrong. You must protect your own interests, and especially your own national interest. So Ukraine end up in a war doing Euromaidan. That is the country going on the wrong path. Yeah, and honestly speaking, Ukraine has never been close to the United States. Like, even with all this Biden era, Biden and Hunter Biden's, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's, involvement with the what is that company called, the oil company, the Burisma, of the oil company of Ukraine, like all this alleged corruption. No, but Ukraine is not close to United States. No, it was never close. So this is like people's imagination of Ukraine as an ally of the United States is super weird. Like, it's just not the reality. No, United States don't see Ukraine as an ally, and the reality is that Ukraine is currently losing the war. If you followed my coverage of the Ukraine war, you will know that Ukraine is losing the war, and dragging the war out means Putin will be incentivized to capture more of Ukraine. So Ukraine is going to lose even more, and it's going to it will be more than what Putin is currently agreeing in the current deal. The more this war goes on, the more Putin is going to ask, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you want to go to war, like send in more. You get like NATO or any country like Poland or whatnot have to enter the war in order to push back the Russians from their captured positions. And every day I'm covering Frontline Changes report. Every day the Russians are capturing grounds. So yeah, so it's just a shocking thing that a former general and someone analyst from CSIS is talking about this kind of thing. And my red flag immediately flashes. Red flag cannot flash, but you know what I mean, right? Immediately, like, this guy have an agenda. So his agenda is to keep the war going on in Ukraine, then and rather than analyzing the actual circumstances right now. So even if you can still analyze the circumstances. However, if you already have a preconceived notion that the only result that you can accept is a continuation of the war, then all your analysis is going to be just warped. But unfortunately, that's how think tank works. So, and one more thing, there's a possible attempt on Trump again. This is one of the breaking news as well. US Secret Service, where they are doing sweeping operations before Trump's arrival, has discovered a hunter's stand. A hunter's stand in the trees, with a total direct line of sight to where Trump usually exits Air Force One at the Palm Beach International Airport. So this is the breaking news broke on Fox, citing Secret Service. So anyway, that's it. So this is the commander's briefing. So hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you want me to continue to do this kind of segments, because it's a totally different thing. I haven't done this for more than a year actually. So let me know what you think in the comments, and happy birthday to you if your birthday today, and press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.